Let's start with a question. It's interesting. I'm not entirely certain the method by which they measure such things, but over the course of the last several years, the discussion that has generated perhaps the most viewers, the most response, has been about wolves. And we're back in wolf territory again, given the actions of a federal court that restored the wolves to the endangered species list, but viewers remain concerned about this topic, and I don't think I need to tell our panelists there's some division about this, and we have it reflected in the questions tonight. We have two viewers from St. Louis County, one who notes the depredation from the wolves and crop losses and livestock losses, and very concerned about that problem, and another viewer who would encourage us to look for ways to sort of coexist with the wolves and deal with the issue another way. Recognizing the universe of possibilities here is somewhat limited because of the federal action. Nonetheless, let's talk a little bit about the wolves. Let's start with our veteran legislature, Senator Engelbrechtsen.
Okay, well, it so happened that I was actually chairing the committee the first year we had our actual first wolf hunt when the gray wolf was taken off of the endangered species list. So it was quite interesting, to say the least. The Minnesota DNR, and along with the legislature, had at that time done a very fine job of putting together a wolf management plan. And so they basically were ready. They hit the ground ready to go. And, of course, the numbers were there. The experts were saying that we definitely could have a wolf hunt here in Minnesota and try and manage the numbers. In fact, we had the third largest number in the North American continent next to Alaska and Canada here in Minnesota alone. So we had a very successful take of the wolves the first 2 years. And as you explained, the federal Supreme Court, I think Justice
District Court Judge,
out of Washington D.C. Ruled that arbitrarily and capriciously they were taken off of I guess the endangered species list, so they're now put back on. So the wolf hunt is definitely on hold for now, and there are some pieces of legislation to try and address that. There's some resolutions asking our federal legislators, because it was a ruling against with regards to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So it didn't really include the three states. It did include the three states, but we have no jurisdiction over that. So we're doing what we can to try and reinstate that, because the numbers are still very healthy. And like the other 50 species in Minnesota, we do have to manage them when they get to a certain number. And so it's moving forward in a respectful fashion, I might add.
Is there some talk about a fund, to deal with crop or cattle losses and other kinds of things?
There is, and the state of Minnesota was taking that over, because we were actually doing the taking. We were doing the managing, so the federal government previously was paying for that. Now that the federal government the federal judge has ruled on this, it's back in their hands. At least that's what a lot of legislators would like to see. So there's some funding mechanisms that have to be looked at, and maybe we're going to have to do it locally. We're going to do some deprivation money locally, but there will still be some cattlemen out there that are going to be, there's going to be some cattle that are taken, and we have to deal with that like we do other species. So.
Representative Torkelson, your thoughts?
Well, thank you. I'm a farmer by trade, so I certainly sympathize with my fellow livestock producers in northern Minnesota who really struggle with this issue, because the wolves take their livestock. It's their livelihood, and the wolves, when they are too plentiful, really cause some serious problems for producers up there. And there's also an issue with the deer herd. There's, anecdotally at least, my friends that live up north and hunt deer in the woods often tell me that they no longer see many deer, but they see a lot of sign of wolves. And so it's a matter of balance, in my opinion. We've been taking a lot of wolves over the years. Even when they were on the list in the past, we had federal trappers and sharpshooters in this state that were taking a number of wolves that were causing problems. Of course, those guys went away when the wolf came off the list. Now, I don't know if the feds are coming back, but we live in a world where we need to manage this population. We are not, we don't want to eliminate the wolves, but we do need to control the population.
Representative Simonson, these two callers come from your territory in St. Louis County. fellow reviewers, what you think about this issue.
Right. So, a lot of the comments that have been made already are spot on. And we recognize that the federal, court has made a ruling, and that kind of changes the game a little bit. But I think there's another perspective that we shouldn't forget and that we shouldn't ignore. And in my district, I have a significant Native American population, and this is a concern of theirs, the wolf is something that they respect, is an animal that they respect. And their concern that they've explained to me over the last couple of years has been how this process kind of came to be and the original plan that was put in place by the DNR. So with this federal court ruling, there's been some changes, obviously, and I think going forward, hopefully there's an opportunity that if there's going to be further changes that we bring them into the mix and recognize that, they have legitimate concerns too. That being said, there is a bill afloat, I know, that would allow us to put some state dollars into this deprivation fund, and I've signed on to that. I think that's a good idea. That's at least offers some relief to our ag folks and our farmers. So I think if we can get some money into that, that's at least a step in the right direction. But if we continue to have discussions about future hunts, I do think it's important that we recognize the concerns of the Native American community.
And I'm glad, Representative Simonson, that you brought up the Native tribes. I mean, there are 11 tribes in Minnesota, and I believe all 11 have had the same kinds of concerns throughout the process. The other thing that exists, too, is the count, and I'm glad Representative Torkelson brought up the deer count. I mean, you're hearing some talk around the chambers about having a deer audit. I'm sure you guys have had enough emails. They're smiling, so the answer is yes. Do we trust the numbers that are out there? How accurate are the numbers? How do you get it through a sampling? And so I still think there needs to be some procedural and process questions that need to go into the discussion, as well as can the federal law be challenged? And the point of at one time in Minnesota, if you felt endangered to your livestock or to yourself, that you could take the animal on your property, but that isn't the case anymore, as far as I understand. We have a. Is that correct?
Actually, you can defend yourself, of course.
Yourself.
But that's it. That's about the extent of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, stay tuned. We'll have more to say about this, and it is not the last chapter, I don't think.